Satla Live. This is good afternoon. This is our half-hour program devoted to an important issue for the community. We aim to educate, inform, and just uplift important community issues. So today, since we devoted most of last month to Haitian Heritage Month, we are focusing today on another activity that we really engaged in actively for the entire month of May, and that's mental health. And so today I have a dynamic team. We have our Satla team and another community member, a very well-known and well-respected member of his profession, who will all talk to you about these issues of mental health. And so let me just go around quickly, introduce the team. We have Genia Williams, who's the director of uh, counseling and mental health issues at Satla. We have Daphne Michel, who's also a very well-respected counselor. She has a long history of work and advocacy in this community. We have another one of the three musketeers, it's Muriel Augustin, who's also doing great work at Satla. And of course, we have the man, the only man is George Bossous Jr., who's the CEO of Word in Action, an incredible organization that really focuses not just on mental health. He's a mental health specialist and professional, but his organization is this great organization that really focuses on, he'll talk a little bit about what he does, but child abuse, and really looks at the protection of some of our most vulnerable children. So this is a great panel. You guys are going to talk about what you've done. I'm going to sort of sit back and let you sort of take over. But my first question is, the question that everyone asks is, what is mental health? And then we can talk about the activities. So who's going to take it?
Good morning, everyone. I think we're going to go start off with our guest, George. Just lead it for us.
Wow, I knew you were going to put me. Yeah, but there are different definitions when it comes to mental health, but let's put it, the ability for somebody to function properly in different levels in society. Whereas you could be not only active in your community in terms of how you relate to other people, but also being able to recognize the potentials and being able to function properly within that spectrum. So there are many different definitions, but at large, this is what it is. When you are able to function where your interaction is not impacting your daily function, your daily living.
Right. Just to tag on, it's just a state of well-being and being able to work productively and to be able to use the skills that you have to function despite the things that you're going through.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Daphne, and I just also want to add that Daphne is a board member of this great mental health organization called NAMI, who's a great partner of Satla. So we're also happy to have her also speak about NAMI to some extent. So Daphne, do you want to say something, or do you guys want to go on to what you've done for Mental Health Awareness Month?
We can go on. I think Mr. George and Ms. Williams really put out what
let's be casual. We don't need Mr. We're a team. Let's say George and Genia, please.
Well, George and Genia,
we're family.
George and Genia really explain what mental health is. Anything that affects your day-to-day living or impacts you is warrant to seek therapy, to seek some services of some sort. Like Leonie said, I am part of NAMI. It's called National Alliance Mental Illness. And so I've sat on the board for it's been like a year now that I've been a part of the board. And it's been such an amazing experience being able to sit in the midst of an amazing organization. They have peer-to-peer learning. And this organization is is set for, it's either individuals who either suffer from a mental health illness or had a family member who suffers from the mental health, suffered from any form of mental health. And so they do peer to peer, they do um, ending the silence with teens and youth that deal with either suicidal, depression, bipolar, you name it. They do that in the community. They have it in the English community, those that speak only primarily English, Spanish community, and Haitian community. And so they often have some groups at Sant located there so families can come in and just do some peer group and some peer support. So it's been around for, I want to say over 20 some odd years, right, Leonie? I think.
Yes.
They've been around for a very long time. In fact, it started off in a little table sitting at someone's kitchen and they discussed and it just blew up. And so this last month, they did a NAMI walk for the first time.
Mhm.
And it was an amazing experience. The team, we were able to go out and walk around Little Haiti and did a little scenic view to talk about the history and the historic part of Little Haiti. It was really good. They were also in the South area at a park in a different location. And so just to raise awareness, we've reached our goal. I think we surpassed our goal with funding, with fundraising. So that opens doors for other opportunities, jobs, programs, trainings. So for them, so I'm so excited. So it was an amazing
Great.
experience, and they really enjoyed their time, and it was their first time walking, so it was a really good experience. And Leonie is assisted. We
Yes.
had, oh my God, it was supposed to be us three, right? And then Leonie called me the day before and was like, I have a group of people who walks, and so you know what, we'll be joining them, and they were on board. They had some walking, we had some running. We were the walkers, not the runners. And so it's an amazing experience. So Leonie, thank you for your support and the team that you work with to make that time and that walk and that awareness, to be put out there.
Pleasure. It was great. It was fun. Muriel, can you tell us a little bit about what you've done and what your take on mental health and what we've done here at Sutla in terms of Mental Health Awareness Month? What activities? What did we do?
Well, for this month at Sutla, we've been focusing for the whole month of every day of making sure that everyone, our staff, and people that come to Sutla are aware of mental wellness and what that means and how to keep your mental wellness, and just having them do simple things like, drinking water, relaxing with some music, taking a walk in the park, just simple thing every day, staycation, vacation, to keep your wellness in check. Because a lot of time we forget that mental wellness is just as important as your physical wellness, because you go to the doctor when you have stomach problem, if you have high blood pressure or anything like that, but we neglect when it comes to our mental wellness. So we
Yes.
focus a lot about that.
And I know that you guys had interactions with clients, with people who came in. What were these interactions like? Because I think that should be interesting to sort of have a sense of what they see as mental health. What were
Yeah.
these conversations like? And George, you can chime in also about how people perceive, mental health, mental illness in our community. Today we're
Absolutely.
focusing on the
Just a little
Haitian
bit
community.
of a background of what I do as, in the organization that I restarted. It's funny that somebody mentioned my work with Christie House, because all stems from when I used to work there, whereas there are one particular child who's been sexually abused. It was a young Haitian American, and she was impregnated by a 70-year-old man. That was the stepfather, and this is what's gonna, springs everything in terms of creating What in Action. And since 2009, we incorporated and working in the community in working prevention of child sexual abuse. We develop a culturally based approach to prevention of child sexual abuse called Strengthening the Family. We've been implementing it ever since in the community and community centers, churches, schools, and training parents, training the trainers as well in terms of how to prevent kids from being sexually abused. So this has been a work, and then we also incorporated in Haiti, where we want to build a center where children who've been sexually exploited and sexually abused could receive help, something that we don't have on the ground at all. So to answer directly to your question is, well, the interactions with it, our perceptions, particularly in our community with Haitian American, it is very skewed due to the fact that we always equate mental health with some kind of supernatural stuff. Somebody's hallucinating, for example. You would say that maybe he's listening to some voice, some zombie or some loa, or somebody's doing something. I have one particular client, she has twins, and she told me, George, don't worry about it. I'm going to go to Haiti. I know what's going on. That's what's bothering the kids. Everything's going to be okay. So, and that's why we have training in terms of our perception of the Haitian beliefs in spirituality, whether it is voodoo or spirit or Catholics or whatever. We always link that to some kind of supernatural. And then also one other thing with our community is linking mental health with, okay, you are crazy. There are stereotype links to it. Most of the time, I always have that disclaimer when they come to see me. I said, I never deal with a crazy person in my life. So I don't know what that means because we don't use that. So we had to, and there's a level of psychoeducation that we have to do in trying to explain our clients, this is what mental health is. This is how that could help you. Most of the time, they would go to a pastor before they go to a psychotherapist. They would go to a hungan, for example, or a spiritual or priest before they go to a psychotherapist. So you have to not only educate the persons in front of you, the child or adult that you're dealing with, but you have to really develop some kind of curriculum in teaching the community about child sexual abuse, about mental health, because without the support system, you could start working, but it might not work. So I know all of us could experience that as professionals. We encounter with Haitians, we know the mentality, how it is, but we have to continually really work in educating our community. And I really commend the Sant for putting something like that out there because we need more of that.
So
Thank you, George.
thank you. Go ahead,
Yes,
Sonia.
George, I so agree with you. And what I've noticed that although the Haitian community agrees to do therapy, agree to participate in services, their reason for they still believe that something was done to them, something supernatural, like you said. And even with our clients, there's always a supernatural reason that someone did something to them or to their children. They'll follow with the recommendations of the school, the referrals, just because they, as our culture respects authority, the school says that they need to receive services, the children need services, they will do it, they will follow through. But nonetheless, they feel that it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with omon kifeyo. I have a client most recently. She filled the prescription. The filled prescription na putimuna. Dit oh non, pas timuna médicament. Ou déjà connaît ça crivé, c'est papa qui fait timuna. So yes, she's participating in services, but she still believes that it's something associated with voodoo. One experience we had when we were meeting with the clients during this month, the entire month outside, everyone's just throwing things out. And again, crazy, the word crazy kept coming out. So I like that little verbiage that you use. I might take it from you too, and it was like, c'est fou. Oh, they peut parler de santé mentale, c'est fou, moun nan fou. So, I gave them examples. Allez, sou gon mal tête pour 2 semaines. Est-ce que vous fin prendre ou boite ou fait tout ça pour faire? Est-ce que pas aller un docteur? Sou gon douleur, est-ce que pas pour un docteur après 2 semaines ou fin prêter ou fin yo mayon ça a fait? Yes, mais c'est comme ça. Est-ce que un monde qui mourit? Est-ce que monde ça fou parce que l'a prié pour plus de 2 semaines? On n'a pas voulu manger. Est-ce que ça il faut pour ça? And so we help them understand that it's okay to want to see someone, to talk to someone. Yeah, I think a lot of our work as mental health professionals is it's one common denominator, just education, whether you be Hispanic, Haitian, even African American, just education, because there's a lot of things that they are not aware of. Imagine if we didn't go into this profession and we did not get our degree, we wouldn't probably know, right? So that's like we have to educate ourselves. Because we don't know the language of a doctor. We have to educate ourselves because of real estate. A real estate agent can talk to us about certain things in a housing market, and we're like, Okay, how do I buy a house? How much money do I need? How much credit do I need? Right. And so it's education. So I think when it comes to mental health, particularly in the Haitian community, we need to educate them, and also be mindful, culturally mindful of their belief, right? But then also just, teach them like it's not everything superficial, it's not everything, not everything is someone did to them or did to their child. So I think education is key, and just being patient with them, understanding and grasping the education that we're providing, so that we can better serve them, and not just serve them because, like at Christine House, DCF is involved, so they're mandated. They can't say no. Like even if they want to, they have to. But are they fully involved? Kind of, sort of, because DCF is involved, right? Or the kid to be taken away, or law enforcement is involved. In our case, JSD is involved. So they feel like they have to be, making sure that the child does come to services, they have to comply, right? So it's not just instilling that fear, but to fully have them engage in the services and understanding the severity, the importance on mental health, and what happens when it's not taken care of or not addressed.
A question. Gina said that parents comply. There's a prescription, they go by the prescription, but they don't give the child, they don't administer the medication. How do you monitor? I mean, from the perspective of, somebody like Christie House, even Sutla, how do you make sure that this medication is actually administered to the children? Is there a way to know that the child was not given the medication, or that the parent didn't take, if mom needs medication to keep her children, um, how do we know that it's that the person is out of compliance?
I tend to provide a lot of psychoeducation as it relates to medication compliance and the medicine itself. So I will provide the family with information about the medicine and how it helps. And as it relates to medication compliance, I follow through and ask. But if you can tell the kid, you know what it's for, and you can tell that this kid is not sitting still. This kid is moving around, can't stay still for like 5 minutes. ADHD, you're giving any kind of medication for ADHD, and this child can't sit for 5 minutes. There's no way the parent is given the medication. Of course, we cannot force anyone to take medication, to give their kids the medication. I appreciate the fact that we were able to establish rapport, and the mother was able to be honest about it. So basically, I just document in my paperwork that parent is not, is filling prescription, but is admits to not giving the medication to the child. But I'll continue to do my part in terms of behavior modification and different parenting skills that can help with improving the child's behavior. A child that is hyperactive, for example, you just have to create an environment where they don't have that much as much distraction. So I can't have you doing your homework where the TV is running, it's near the kitchen. You need to be in a quiet space, because yes, you're still going to be bouncing around, but less of it, because you don't have as much distraction around you. I don't know if somebody else want to chime in.
No, I agree. I think one of the obvious things that you'll see if the child is bouncing around, they have ADHD, right? Or let's say a kid who is severe depressed, right? If every week you're meeting with the kid still is showing signs and symptoms of depression, and each week you're giving them skill sets and coping skills, and they're just not getting it, right? And usually, I always tell families, medication, therapy, and psychiatric care goes hand to hand, right? If it's just therapy, no medication, and you're following up with a psychiatrist who's asking you every 30 days how the child is responding to this medication, and the mom is like, well, it's still the same. That psychiatrist would either up the dose, right? So if it's from 10 milligrams, they give you 15 if they feel like it's not working. And so they're upping these dosage, but you're not giving it to the child. And so the child is just even more depressed, and it's just declining. So I think once we realize that, then we'll know the family obviously is not giving the child the medication. And again, education, safety concerns is what we drill each time if the family isn't complying. So that's how we can tell. But all of those three goes hand in hand, to better help an individual get better with whatever mental health illness that they're dealing with.
And
Yeah, I can. Go ahead.
That's George, and then Muriel will go next.
Okay, well, but if I could share quickly, well, one of the things that Genia said that is really important is psychoeducation.
What
Generally,
does that mean?
psychoeducation. In other words, you educate the parents about, first of all, about the disease, the diagnosis. What is ADHD, for example? We take ADHD, for example. What it is, how does that work in the brain, and what the medication does. Because, what you don't, and generally what I told them, I'm a psychotherapist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I don't prescribe. My job is to take you off medication, not to put you on it. And the thing here is the same way the therapy, depending on the severity of the disorder, let's say the ADHD, for example, depending on the severity, that could require, medications. But only therapy is not going to be enough if you have severe ADHD or severe depression or whatever it is. The same way medication alone is not enough. Because sometimes you might find parents depending only on the medications, whereas when they come to therapy, the skill set that you're providing to them, they're not implementing it as well. So what they do, they just content themselves in giving the kids the medications. They become very dependent on it. So however, other skills that you provide them in terms of parenting and boundaries and all those stuff, they're not implementing this as long as the kid has the medications, the kid is calm now, he's not running around the house. You give them in front of the television and that's it. But what you have to really educate them, this medication is not a cure. There is no cure for ADHD. So we're not giving you something to cure your child. We're giving you something for the brain to function optimally that's gonna allow me to do therapy for you. So what's gonna change the behavior is what we do as therapists. This is what's going to change the pattern of the brain and make the child function properly, equip you with the skills that you possibly need. And this is their job as parent to make that happen. So when we're not here, you're going to become a therapist at home by implementing what we tell you to do. And our job is to monitoring it, making sure that you are doing what you are supposed to do. And if you don't like the medications, work with me, and then I will take them off the medication. So there are a little how you go about it, but it's a great question, and we face that every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna pretty much the same thing that you guys been saying. And also I wanted to add just meeting the parents where they are at the time and just trying to understand their reasoning behind not wanting to give the kid the medication. Because it could be something simple as, oh, I have a friend who has their child on the same medication and this is what they said, or, just meeting them where they're at and understanding and listening to them to see what their reasoning are for not wanting to give the kid the medication. And of course, educating them of the benefit of taking this medication while they're in therapy.
I think that it's also important, as you said, to teach, to do psychoeducation for the village, because sometimes, I've seen, there was one case in particular that still remains with me, is that a mother got her parental rights terminated because she refused to take the medication. And why did she refuse to take the medication? Because her church members told her that it was poison, that it was a way for the system to poison her. And so their word plus her own illness made it very difficult for the system to help her remain stable enough to regain custody. And ultimately she lost all right to the children. And that was, so, that definitely demonstrates that the village needs to be educated, because our people are getting their information from the experts.
I'm glad that you said that.
Are more influential than us.
Yes,
yes.
Leonie,
I like that you said that. And although this is slightly a little bit off the mental illness portion, but just as we think about Mental Health Awareness Month itself, one of the things that I like to think about is that we as mental health professionals who are just working in this field is really stressful at times, and it takes a toll on you, right? And so I was just so excited about this 31-day self-care challenge that we did here at Sant. It was really fun. It was really fun. But the thing that I noticed the most was that for me as a mental health professional as well, it was challenging to me for me also to take time out and do some of those challenges, right? And so there was one day just to watch a movie. I planned to watch a movie all day, and come 9 o'clock, I said, I'm ready to watch my movie. I was like, it's too late. I need to go to sleep. I have work, and I had things to do. And so it is challenging to us also to take care of ourselves. And just working in this field, we also need to take advantage of utilizing some of the coping strategies to be more effective, and be like a full us, a whole us, to work with the clients in our population. Yes.
Does anyone want to? I know I enjoyed it. And one of the things that I noticed is that I've been practicing self-care. I always roll my eyes when I hear self-care.
Thank you.
But I notice I walk in the morning, I ride my bike. I don't go to the spa, but I do, do a little facial once in a while. So, and I have to say also that having to take care of an elderly parent also means that you have to slow down in a way. You have to be less sort of out there active. So that kind of helped me also be more in tune with certain things about my life. So yeah, I enjoyed. I know I had some resistance because I'm like, what does that have to do with mental illness or mental health? But definitely, from drinking water every day to sleeping well, and being intentional about that definitely helped
Yes.
create a balance, right? Did you guys practice that? Daphne, did you practice the 31 days? Can you unmute yourself, please?
Sorry, I did. I know I did the movie part. It was a TV series I binged one day. And although I was tired, I'm like, I'm just going to watch it and just, so it was good. I took piece by piece. But I think, like Junior said, sometimes it can be difficult to, set aside what you have going on to take care of yourself, right? When your cup is empty and you're thirsty, don't you fill it up? So it's kind of like with yourself, like you give and you give and you give, especially in this field. But when you're all emptied out, how do you refill yourself? So it's important to give that balance. I give, but yet I have to also give to myself to continue to give to others if that's something that you desire and that you love to do. So I think being mindful to take care of ourselves mentally, physically, and emotionally, it's very, very important because this field of work can be emotionally drained. It can be mentally drained sometimes when you're not able to get all the answers for a family, right? Or sometimes it's like you're giving your all in this family. It's just like knocking a wall. Sometimes it can get discouraging and get frustrating. And I think if we take care of ourselves, pampering ourselves, right? I wish I like to walk and run, right? I mean, if I'm running after a dog. I mean, a dog probably chasing me, right? Or running after my daughter around the house. But it's kind of like those things are mindful. I wish I knew how to swim. I could just swim all day. And so just stuff to rejuvenate your mind and to just, empower you is very, very, very important so that you don't break and find yourself in a deep end and can't crawl out. So.
And did you practice any 10 days, any 31 days?
Yes, I practiced a few of them, but my favorite one was spending time with friends and just catching up and laughing and just, enjoying each other's time. So for me, that was my wellness challenge. So I think I did pretty good with that.
George, do you have a wellness routine?
Well, I try. I try to. I tried my best. Watching some series on television. It's really important, and I could give. I had an example of not something for a therapist not to do. I remember when I went to Haiti a while back and evaluated 24 young men who were sexually abused, and I was by myself. And I saw 5 of them every single day for an entire week. I was totally drained. I was in tears the last day, and it was totally different because that was the very first time I've done therapy in my mother's tongue. So I'm doing therapy en Creole. En Creole, dans zone côté m'rité, côté m'sorti au Cap, vous comprenez? C'est like you received it differently. I'm actually writing a book about that. It was one of the first, but I didn't have anybody. That's why it's important to talk to each other too. It's not only self-care, but it's okay to support each other. It's okay to disclose to each other. We need that support from us, each other as professionals. And I wish I had another therapist with me in there. Trust me, it would have helped me a lot. I would never do that again.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you have a great board of directors also. You have great people who have also been, formerly victims of child abuse and who are very open about that. So
Absolutely, very vocal, very open. Yeah.
It's very vocal. So and all Haitian. So
Yeah.
it's also very encouraging to see that. Well, we don't have much time left. So I'm just going to go around and ask you all to give your little closing statements, and then I'm hoping that we can just one last question we got asked is, where can one start with mental wellness? If you're just a regular, so you can be like a closing statement. How do we start? What's the first step? If you can't go to the spa, if what do you do? What are the first steps? So each and every one of you will make that your closing statement.
Okay, I'll start first. Thank you again. I was just so thankful for this month and just this platform to just raise awareness in the Haitian community. We've had a lot of opportunities this month, all of us, to just sit on different panels to talk about mental health, mental wellness, and just to raise awareness in the community. And it was fun, and then it was for a purpose. And just one way that you can start the mental wellness, is just being aware that you do need self-care. And then we're going to post on the chat or in the comment box to our 31-day challenge, and you can use any of those to start from there. And nothing really costs any money. It's just simple. By drinking water is the cheapest and easiest one, I would say, or just going to sleep. Just sleep. Thank you.
Daphne?
I think where can one start is acknowledging that I need to take care of myself, acknowledging that we all need someone, something to empower us, to build us, and to lift us up, right? Every therapist needs a therapist. So I just think acknowledging that and then starting from there, and just taking it one day at a time and one step at a time. And again, it doesn't have to be extravagant. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to get a therapist. It can just be, I'm going to take care of myself and do something out of the ordinary to build me and to just build my mind and my mental state. And I think that's where one can start.
Also, I think one can start with listening to your body. Listen to what your body is telling you. What is it asking you to do? And listen to it. Take that time out to pamper yourself. Like everybody was saying, sleeping, walking, drinking water, having somebody to talk to also is very helpful when you're in a stressful time. Even as therapists, like Daphne says, we are taught that we should have somebody to talk to as therapists to alleviate some of the stress that we go through. So listening to your body.
Yeah, but for me, it's I think it's important to have me time because sometimes we don't have time for ourselves. Sometimes, you have time for other people. Some of us have children. You have a husband or a wife. You don't have time for you. Some of us are just single mother, single dad. You don't have time for you. You work, 5 days or 6 days a week at times. You don't have me time. And me time doesn't necessarily mean you have to purchase a ticket and go to a cruise. Not necessarily. You could have me time at home. You have your corner. This is your time. Your phone is off. Okay. You blocked that moment for you, and you spend time with yourself to reflect and be okay and be fine and free from all those stress and those bills and all those things that's happening at work and at church, wherever it is. you release yourself from that. You take a sabbatical from it, and then you have that time for you. And this, I promise you, is really revealing, because I use that. I work that all the time. I stay away. I said, don't call me, don't talk to me. This is George time, and this is me. Wherever I am, I could be on the road, I could be traveling, but that time is for me. I don't negotiate it. And that helps.
I love charging my phone all day on Sundays. Oh, I didn't hear you call. My phone was charging far away from me. So that's been a really great break that I've taken for myself, is to truly physically, and it took a while. It's stressful to distance yourself from your phone, but it's a good feeling not to be tethered, not to be connected to your phone. So thank you so much. I think that we should not limit this conversation to Mental Health Awareness Month. I think that, we would love to have George back, especially around the issues of, child abuse and sexual abuse, and, how we should detect it in our community and address it. So consider this an open invitation, George, for another conversation. Thank you so much to Sant mental health team. You really made us proud. Your presence, your activity, your engagement really elevated this issue, not only among our clients, but in the community, and really let people know that Santla is extremely serious about addressing this issue in our community. So, and I also want to give a little thank you to Kenta, who was very active on social media with the messages. So thank you so much, and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. See you guys soon.